Hey guys, this is a precon upgrade guide for the Tyranid Swarm, the new Warhammer 40k commander deck. This is a Teamer +1/+1 counters deck from what I've read from this guide so far, but we'll be getting right into it in just a second and seeing what we can do with this deck. And I will mention again that I really don't know anything about Warhammer and the lore and the effects that are in that game and whatnot. And I don't really care per se. I don't want to be rude to people, but I really care about Magic. And I really want to, again, get back into what I know and whatnot. And what I know is deck building for the most part. Hey. So yeah, we're really going to be looking at this deck purely from a Magic perspective and looking at upgrading this deck into the main strategy of what this deck can offer us. So with all that being said, we better get a look at our commander and what our commander can actually bring to the table in specific. Alright, so our commander is the Swarm Lord. 3 and Teamer colors, so green, blue, and red. 5/5. When he enters the battlefield with 2+1 counters on it for each time we've cast him from the command zone this game. So the first time when we cast him, he'll enter with those 2 counters. And then the second time, he'll enter with 4 counters. Third time, if we get there, he'll enter with 6 counters. So he starts getting really big really quickly. I don't know whether this is specifically Voltron Commander, though we could make it that way. Although I really would rather go a different direction because Voltron's not really my thing and I don't really want to build it that way. But anyway, whenever a creature we control with a counter on it dies, we also draw a card. So we could also be playing some sort of semi-aristocrat style of strategy here where we have abilities to sacrifice some of our creatures with +1/+1 counters, draw a card, do some other stuff if we have some more recursion or whatnot, whatever. We can make tokens and then sack off the tokens and whatnot, whatever. Or we could just suicide them in, draw a whole bunch of cards, whatnot, whatever. And we could have some other things going on in this deck. So it's an interesting deck to figure out exactly what's going on here and exactly which way you kind of want to build this to an extent. But, of course, I think when you look at a deck list, it makes it a little bit clearer sometimes. Usually the face commander or the face card is a good indication of where the deck is going. But you really sometimes need to get a feel for the rest of the deck. So we better get along and have a look at the rest of the deck. Plus, we'll get to see what kind of cards we might want to cut and what cards we might want to add as well. Alrighty guys, here we are having a look at the list here on Architect, and we can see the price that we need to take with a grain of salt, so we know what is going on roughly, at least with this deck. And again, there's a lot here. There's always a lot here, and it's gonna take me quite a while to get through a lot of this and sort of see where we're at this deck. And it does look like we are fairly tribal towards Tyranids, as what I was sort of thinking from some of the cards here and there that I was seeing, like Herald's Horn and things like that. But anyway, yes, I was a little bit confused here and there with some of the card choices here and there. But anyway, that is what that is. As I was just like reading through, wait a minute, how many of any one creature do we have? But I just wanted to quickly look and see what we did have. But having said that, yes, I will be having to go away, wander away, read through a whole bunch of cards, see what I can find. I don't want to take out too much of what this deck is already trying to do, but I really want to take into account cards that will actually give us a huge benefit and a huge amount of ability to do what we're kind of doing. So I just want to go through and reread everything and see what we can do with what we're doing, because again, we could go down a sacrifice route with this, but I don't really want to do that. But that is just an option we have with our commander. So I want to see what we can do, or what I can do with this deck, and then I'll bring you guys back once I am done, as always. If you're enjoying the content here, you can join the Screw Army by subscribing and turning on the notification. Alrighty guys, so now we've gotten back after me doing some dilly-dallying, and well, that's a price, isn't it? But at least it's not over 3. Sometimes, the prices, when you look at them, it scares you. That was the first time I actually looked at that, since we had actually gotten away. I'm going to go through some of what we have cut and some of what we have added quickly. But I will say with lands, mostly, I don't think we really changed too much in the lands section. I did get rid of most of the tapped lands and whatnot that were in here. Not all of them. If they added some other utility like Terramorphic Expanse Evolving Wilds, I kept them in. Or Opal Palace, which can put counters on stuff, but beyond that, I just got rid of most of it. I added only Yavimaya Coast and Shivan Reef as non-basics to this deck. The rest was basics. And yeah, well, I only do that because, well, anyone who has a real budget for a really good mana base for a deck is gonna mostly know what they're gonna want and whatnot. Whereas some people who don't have much of a budget probably aren't even going to do anything to the mana base and whatnot. But even so, just changing out those tap lands for basics, even that is just better than having those tap lands that slow you down, and just getting some fairly cheap, dual lands that are in standard right now. Pretty easy. So, yeah. But anyway, we'll get through what we took out. Abundance. Look, I don't know what this card was doing in this deck. This is, what is going on with this? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't even know what purpose this could serve at all within the deck, so I just, yeeted it out of there. Don't really think it has anything to do with the deck. The hybrid, when it attacks, we can destroy an artifact, and if the artifact is destroyed, the controller draws a card. Artifact destruction is good, but we don't want slow sorcery speed and have to attack to get that, even if it is recurring. And we also just don't really want to give our opponents too much card draw at a certain point. Aetherize, don't know how you're meant to pronounce it. Somebody's going to be mad no matter which way I say it. Returns all attacking creatures to their owner's hand. It's only attacking creatures, so I just thought, well, that's, hit and miss, so we can take it out. Arcane Signet, we can just do better ramp, and we do already have a lot of better ramp in this deck, so I just took it out. Not really talking about the lands. Death Leaper. Flash and Haste. 3/3. Creatures you control that enter the battlefield this turn have double strike. I think it's a little bit hit and miss, so I just didn't really know how many times we're going to get that double strike and it's really going to matter super duper. So I thought, well, we can just get better sort of things and more consistency. Explore. We do have a certain number of lands in this deck. Drawing one card and being able to play into just lands, okay, but I just think it's pretty weak, so we could take it out and we could find something way better than it pretty easily. The Frolic, or the Flock, whatever we want to call this thing, I don't know, man. Flyer. At the beginning of our end step, if creature entered the battlefield under your control this turn, we create a 1/1 blue Tyranid gargoyle creature token with flying. So once per turn, we get one flyer. That's not that amazingly good. We can buff them up or whatever. It's a nice flyer, but that's, kind of it. I don't know. I just didn't think much of it, so I just decided to yeet it on out of here. Garrison, I really feel like he belongs in his own deck or part of a deck of pingers or whatnot. When you deal 1 damage, you deal 1 more or whatever with him. I just don't really think he fits with what we're really doing here. I'm not really going to go through vehicles because they have the same reason for being yeeted out. They're just too hard to really get going and do a whole bunch with. Hull Breach can destroy artifacts and artifact and an enchantment, but it is sorcery, so I felt, well, we can just do better probably. Lich Thor just creates 1/3/3 if an opponent had a creature enter the battlefield this turn. Sure, we could maybe find ways to flicker it or do other things, but just 1/3/3 isn't very impactful, so just yeeted it on out. Overgrowth, we've got better ramp than this and whatnot, so I just decided to yeet it on out of there. Starstorm deals X damage to creatures and we can cycle it away. Again, I just thought we can do better in terms of wraths and whatnot, so just got it on out of there. I really, again, will say I hate a lot of these, sagas. They just don't do a whole lot of anything quickly enough, and when you do get them, they don't really offer enough, in my opinion. So I just decide to yeet them all out of there. Tyranid Invasion just makes a number of 3/3s equal to the number of opponents we can have, so we can make, 3/3/3s or whatever for the 4. That's not that amazing. It's okay at best. And Ventum Lead, flying and Death Touch with Hexproof, that's just okay. It has no real other text, so I just thought we can get it on out of here. We can get better things. As far as sorceries, I think we only added Blasphemous Act as a Wrath. The rest was already here. I did add Kiora, because Kiora's there. Just more card draw. We really was short on card draw, I felt. Didn't add any artifacts to the list, because I didn't really find any that were too useful. And we are in green, so we don't really care that much about artifacts and whatnot. So, yeah. But still, Elemental Bond in the enchantments, just 3 greater power creature ETBs. We draw a card. Decent enough. Garruk's Uprising gives our stuff trample. Whenever it enters, or whenever a creature with power 4 or greater enters, we draw a card. Guardian Project, whenever we cast creatures, we'll draw cards. Most of our deck is creatures, so we'll draw those cards. Kindred Discovery, we're mostly Tyrannoids, so we'll mostly choose Tyrannoids, and we'll draw cards whenever we attack or whenever a Tyrannoid enters the battlefield, so that's really useful. Master Chef, gives our commander the ability to give all our other creatures a +1/+1 counter, which can really buff them up really quickly. New Horizons, I think this was one of the later cards that I was looking at. Maybe it deserves to be on the cuts and I could find something better, but it's just fine. It does give us some +1/+1 counters to work with. Temur Ascendancy giving us haste, really good, plus whenever a creature power 4 or greater ETBs, we draw a card, so that's really good. Added a few instant and sorceries here. Added a Beast Within just to destroy any permanent and only gives them a 3/3. Nature's Claim just to destroy an artifact or enchantment. They only gain 4 life. Resculpt to exile a creature or artifact just gives them a 4/4. That's fine. Ruinous Intrusion exiles any artifact or enchantment, and then we get +1/+1 counters on one of our creatures equal to the exiled permanent's mana value, so I thought that's fine, pretty good. So let's go through the creatures. I actually don't think that there was a whole lot, but there was some stuff like Defiler of Vigor, just really good. Helps us cast some of our green spells by paying life instead of paying the green cost. Whenever we cast a green permanent spell, we put a +1/+1 counter on each creature we control. Most of the permanents that are in this deck are green, so, you know, that's going to probably work pretty well. Evolution Sage, whenever we get lands, we proliferate, so that will be fine. So, yeah, I decided to add that. What else did we add here? Colonian Hydra. When it attacks, we put a +1/+1 counter on each creature we control. That can get out of hand really quickly. It increases our power a huge amount. Kadama of the West Tree gives all of our stuff with +1 counters trample, and whenever we deal combat damage to a player, we search our library for a basic land card and put it into the battlefield tapped with our +1/+1 counter creatures. So I thought, you know, that's really good. What else do we have here? Whiptongue Hydra. I think that's the last one, actually. Yeah, Whiptongue Hydra. When it enters, we kill all the flyers, and then we get counters on him for each flyer destroyed this way. We do have a few flyers in this deck and whatnot, but not a huge amount, so I felt like that is a pretty good call. Also, Whirlwind is not a bad one either. That just destroys all things with flying and whatnot, so that's pretty decent. But yeah, that is the list as far as I've done it here and upgraded and changed it. But you guys can let me know what you think, especially if you go out and buy this deck and upgrade it in the way that I have laying out here. I would really like to know what you guys think of it if you do upgrade it in this way, because playtesting really does change the way these decks sort of get changed, because then you get more of a feel for what the deck needs and wants and where it might need something else, or what now, you know, like more indestructible or more protection or whatnot, or more recursion or whatever it is. But yeah, I can only do so much as it is, because I only get to play with these decks for so long before I can actually just have to put these videos out on YouTube and whatnot. So yeah, that's all I can sort of recommend here for today for this list. But as I said, you guys can let me know what you think. Write your thoughts down there in the comments below, and I'll be sure to respond to them. But otherwise, I hope to see you in the next one.